Top 10 African countries with the least natural resources. Welcome to Explore and thanks for watching. In this video, we shall be looking at the top 10 African countries with the least natural resources. Africa is a continent of abundance and diversity in every aspect, from its people to its culture and the abundant resources on the continent. Each country on the continent is unique and special in its own way. Some countries in Africa have large quantities of natural resources, including diamond, salt, gold, iron, cobalt, uranium, copper, bauxite, silver, petroleum, cocoa beans, wood, and tropical fruits, etc. Recent oil reserve discoveries have increased the diversity of the commodities on the African continent, with the United States and Europe being the highest buyers of Africa's natural resources. Despite the fact that Africa is blessed with all these natural resources, it is still one of the poorest continents in the world. We have a two-part video on why Africa is so poor. Click on the card in the left-hand corner of your screen to check it out. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Despite the abundance of natural resources on the African continent, it is not evenly distributed among its countries. Some African countries have abundance of these natural resources, while others barely have any, and as a result have to find other creative ways to boost up their economies. So, in no particular order, here are the top 10 African countries with the least natural resources. Number 10. Seychelles. Seychelles is one of the most developed countries in Africa, with very high per capita income and a high human development index of 0.80. The economy of Seychelles relies on tourism, fishing, boat building, printing, beverages, furniture, and processing of coconut, copra, and vanilla, because of the fact that the natural resources in Seychelles are very relatively small compared to most African countries. The natural resources of Seychelles are fish, wildlife, coconuts, and cinnamon. There has been speculations of offshore natural oil and gas in Seychelles, but all exploration attempts to find it has been fruitless. Multinational oil companies have explored the waters around the islands. No oil or gas has been found. In 2005, a deal was signed with US firm Petroquest, giving it exploration rights to about 30,000 square kilometers around constant Topaz, Farquhar and Coëtivy Island until 2014. Seychelles imports oil from the Persian Gulf, Kuwait, and Bahrain in form of refined petroleum derivatives at the rate of about 5,700 barrels per day. Despite the fact that the country is not lucky to have most of Africa's natural resources, it is still one of the best countries in Africa to live in. Number 9. São Tomé and Principe. São Tomé and Principe is a country made up of 4 islands, namely São Tomé, Principe, Annobon, and Bioko. 3/4 of the country is rainforest, although most of the lowlands forests have been cleared for palm and coconut tree plantations. The forests are mostly inaccessible and cannot support farming, which makes them an ideal haven for endemic and threatened species of fauna and flora. With 30% of the land being a national park, agriculture is not widely practiced even though the soil is very rich. The rich volcanic soil and close proximity to the equator made São Tomé and Principe ideal for sugar cultivation. Followed later by cash crops such as coffee and cocoa, the lucrative plantation economy was heavily dependent upon imported African slaves. However, the country's topography provides a conducive environment for hydropower and fishing, which are the major natural resources in the island. The island has over 230 species of fish, with the most famous species of fish including the gigantic sailfish, barracuda, wahoo, and in addition to dolphins and numerous species of tuna such as the Atlantic bluefin tunas. Number 8. Cape Verde. Located 570 kilometers west of the Cape Verde Peninsula off the coast of northwest Africa, Cape Verde is made up of 10 islands which cover a combined area of 4,033 square kilometers with a population of about 550,000 people. Only 5 of the 10 main islands in Cape Verde, Santiago, Santo Antão, São Nicolau, Fogo, and Brava, normally support significant agricultural production, as over 90% of all food consumed in Cape Verde is imported. Mineral resources include salt, gypsum, basalt rocks, kaolin, pozzolana, volcanic rock used in cement production, limestone, and of course, fish. Cape Verde has experienced notable economic growth and improvement in living conditions despite the lack of natural resources, and has gained international recognition with other countries and international organizations, often providing development aid to the island. Number 7. Comoros. Comoros, with an estimated gross domestic product per capita income of about $700, is among the world's poorest and least developed nations. The main reason for its poverty is that the country is found in an isolated region and has few natural resources. Some of the major natural resources of Comoros are arable land, water, forest, beautiful landscapes, and biodiversity. The economy of Comoros is based on subsistence agriculture and fishing. Agriculture, including fishing, hunting, and forestry, are the leading sectors of the economy, which contribute to 40% of the GDP, employs 80% of the labor force, and provides most of the exports. The country is not self-sufficient in food production. Rice, the main staple, accounts for the bulk of the country's imports. Number 6. Gambia. The Gambia, named after its main river, is a country made up of many beautiful white sandy beaches and landscapes. Since gaining independence in 1965, Gambia has witnessed political turmoil and poor governance, resulting in huge debts as the economy is heavily reliant on agriculture, import, and tourism. The Gambia has no important mineral or other natural resources, and despite over 75% of the country's population dependent on agriculture for their livelihood, it has a limited agricultural base. Gambia's natural resources consist of laterite, titanium, rutile, ilmenite, tin, zircon, and silica sand. With the country's nominal GDP at just above $1 billion and GDP per capita often below $500, Gambia also depends on bilateral and multilateral aid, since the country barely has any substantial natural resources. Number 5. Mauritius. Mauritius is an island nation in the Indian Ocean, about 2,000 kilometers off the southeast coast of the African continent. The country includes the islands of Mauritius, Rodrigues, Agalega, and Saint Brandon, with the capital and largest city, Port Louis, located on the main island of Mauritius. The country is 2,040 square kilometers in area, with a population estimated at 1.3 million people. According to the World Bank, the economy of Mauritius had grown significantly since gaining independence in 1968, when it was considered a low-income economy. Despite the country not blessed with abundant natural resources, Mauritius has been able to fully utilize the natural resources available to achieve substantial economic growth. Some of the nation's natural resources include the arable land, forest, basalts, lime, the beautiful scenery, and the fish. This is the reason why the main economic activity in the country includes fishing and tourism. Number 4. Lesotho. Lesotho is an enclaved country within the border of South Africa, and along with the Vatican City and San Marino, it is one of the only 3 independent states completely surrounded by the territory of another country, and the only outside of the Italian peninsula. Despite being surrounded by a country that has abundant natural resources, it is still one of the countries in Africa with the least natural resources. The country's major mineral resource is diamond, nearly 1,140 carats of which were extracted using rudimentary methods in 2001. The country produced 1,500 carats of diamond in 2000. Other mineral deposits in the country include gravel, sand, fire clay, dimension stone, base metals, and crushed rock. The country also has small amounts of uranium, coal, and iron. Bituminous shale reserves also have been discovered in the country. Lesotho has benefited from these natural resources, which are not only the lifetime for the country's residents, but also earns the country millions of dollars in the form of foreign exchange every year. Number 3. Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau's GDP per capita is one of the lowest in the world, and as well as its Human Development Index, with more than 2/3 of the population living below the poverty line. One of the main reasons why Guinea-Bissau is very poor is because it is not one of those countries blessed with natural resources. Guinea-Bissau's key natural resources include phosphates, granite, clay, bauxite, unexploited deposits of petroleum, and limestone. Phosphate deposits were identified over 40 years ago in the region of Farim, and the first feasibility studies regarding the exploration were completed in the mid-1980s. Bauxite deposits have also been identified near the historical city of the Boy. Oil prospects have also instigated interest in the country. In total, 14 offshore blocks have been licensed to several firms which have been exploring them. In 2010, the mineral production in the country was restrained to small-scale production of granite, sand and gravel, clay and limestone. Gold, bauxite, phosphate rock, diamond and heavy minerals were the country's most prospective mineral resources in 2010. The country's petroleum needs are met by imports such as petroleum being produced in Guinea-Bissau. Recent exports give hope that offshore deposits from these blocks may come to be the first economical exploitable hydrocarbons in the country, although these are only preliminary estimates. Such natural resources endowment gives hope for the country to improve its nominal GDP of just above $1 billion and GDP per capita of less than $1,000. Number 2. Eswatini. Eswatini is blessed with beautiful women, beautiful environment and a relatively rich economy compared to most of its counterparts in this video. But one thing it definitely doesn't have in common with all other countries in this video is the fact that it is not blessed with abundant natural resources. Eswatini, which has a diverse economy with agriculture, forestry and mining accounting for about 30% of GDP, manufacturing representing 37% of GDP, and services with government servicing in the lead constituting 50% of the GDP. Eswatini's main natural resources include asbestos, coal, clay, cassiterite, hydropower, forest, small gold and diamond deposits, quarry stone and talc. Eswatini's economy is very closely linked to the economy of South Africa, from which it receives over 90% of imports and to which it sends about 70% of its exports. Number 1. Burundi. Burundi, a country which witnessed the assassination of its first democratically elected president, after which the country struggled through prolonged cultural violence between the Hutu and Tutsi sects, leading to a lot of destruction, especially of the country's forests, which has left the country in constant struggle. Coupled with the fact that Burundi is a country with few resources with an undeveloped manufacturing industry, the country's economy mostly depends on its agricultural sector, with tea and coffee being the country's chief exports. Burundi's key natural resources include gold, copper, uranium, tungsten, nickel, tin, peat, platinum, limestone, vanadium, tantalum, niobium, kaolin and cobalt. Even though gold accounts for more than 90% of the value of Burundi's total mineral productions, the country still produces over 300 kilograms. However, Burundi has no resources of coal, natural gas or petroleum, which is why electricity production in the country is very problematic. Hydroelectric power stations now account for most of the country's electricity production, as they do not have the natural reserves to produce it. There you have it, explorers. Those were the top 10 African countries with the least natural resources. Thanks for watching this video. If you want us to cover any of your top 10 topics, leave us suggestions in the comments and we will do well to grant your request. Also, if you did enjoy this video, do well to give it a thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe and share with your friends.